And welcome back to the Kingdom Creators Podcast. I'm excited about this one.
Just happy to be here, Sam.
What are we doing right now? Where
what
are
we
we?
doing? We're actually in Dallas, and we are in a studio, Idea Man Studios, and we've been filming all day. We've been up way too early.
Yeah.
I think we're hit hour 12.
Our producer, Sean, he was falling asleep mid-shoot.
It's been a rough day, but we've been filming.
And we have a gentleman right here. Who we got here?
We have the wonderful Paul.
Mr. Paul, how are you, bro?
What's up, guys?
Man, Paul Trimble, one of my favorite people ever. I love you so much.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's great to have you on the podcast. And we're all tired.
Yeah, it's been a long day.
It's been a long day.
Content all day long.
This is our first shoot together. Right? How first day in?
I think you're doing great, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I love that. You're doing good, Sam.
Hey, Sam, you're doing...
Honestly, let's turn this into an encouragement
You can make
session.
a career out of this. I think
Have you done this before?
Best,
I was picking that up.
you're doing a great job, man. You
Nah.
interact really well with the client. Sam's great. Hire Sam.
We've had some great fun today. It's been a pleasure having you. I thought it'd be amazing to have you on the podcast. You are well experienced in the creative world, within the church world, and why don't you just tell the people, who are you? Who's Paul Trimble?
Yeah, I'm Paul, and I love the church. I love just the environment of church. Like, I grew up, just quick backstory, like I was probably 15 or 16, homeschooled, part of a really large church here in Dallas. And basically my mom just kicked me out of the house. She was like, go find something to do. And so I just started tagging along with the video guys. So they had a couple guys who made videos for the youth group. And I mean, it was a pretty big youth group, honestly.
How big?
I mean, they were running 1,000, 1,200 every week.
Wow.
And in 2006,
Damn.
that's pretty dang good.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's a lot of bums on seats, man.
It was big for 2006.
Yeah,
yeah,
wow.
for sure.
Oh,
So I
6.
just started going up, hanging out with Aaron, the video guy, and he just, I'd move C-stands, move sandbags, and then just kind of did that all through high school. And then
And did you love it?
it was just so fun. Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it. Yeah, absolutely. Just learning the ropes. Started interning under their main video guy every week, just editing the sermon, just cutting out ums and ahs. And
The real test is on what program at the time?
at this time, it was Final Cut 7.
Oh, so you never went to Sony Vegas?
Oh, we started on Sony Vegas.
Hey, it's the mutual story.
Dude,
we all
Sony
started on Vegas.
Yeah,
But
me and
nobody's done it
Ezra.
for long.
Yeah.
Me
Not
and Ezra
long.
started on Sony
Really?
Vegas.
What, just
Yeah.
editing youth videos?
Editing videos for kids ministry,
Wow.
junior high. Yeah.
Love that.
Just figuring it out.
Yeah,
dude.
bro. Literally.
Just figuring it out from 15-ish, hanging out at church. Just the kids ministry was like, here's a tape camera, a DVX 100 tape camera.
Damn.
And just making skits for kids and like super fun. And then went to Bible college, interned at the church, and then I was in my last year at college, and I took a full-time job at the church leading the at the time it was the kids. I was the filmmaker for kids. Just one guy making a bunch of videos
By yourself
for kids
at the church?
At the church, yeah.
Wow.
And so at that point, it was like there was the church media team or the comms team, and there's the youth group media team, and then there's the children's ministry media team, which was just me. And that was 2011. And so for the next 7 years, I built a team, and then I had 8 guys.
Wow. You built that
At the
team?
end, yeah, I built a team, had a designer, had a project manager, 2-3 animators.
Wow.
And we were just cranking out video curriculum. And that was like so fun. And then from there, I left, and I'm just giving you the quick story,
Yeah,
basically. But
Yeah.
I left and I went freelance for 2 years.
So what led you to do that?
I got fired.
So you got left is basically
I got
fired.
laid off.
Okay. They were making budget cuts, were they?
They did budget cuts. They kind of, and they were really cool about it.
And the media team's down here.
the kids media team,
Yeah, the kids
the
media
leader of the
team.
kids media team was fairly
Yes,
low.
yeah.
But I mean, we were making great content, and it's funny because they were transparent about it. My wife was there, like we were all on staff, and they just said, "Hey, things have been kind of strange. We need to shake things up. We need to lose about 100 people." There's about 700 people on staff.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were like, "We really feel like we need to shift some things
Bro,
around."
us Aussies just don't get it, eh?
There's 700 staff
That's
members.
crazy, man. There's not many churches that big in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Just the staff
Yeah,
size.
bully, yes.
Sorry, keep going.
There's a lot of churches that size here
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
but they basically did some cuts, and my wife was like, they opened it up to leave. They're like, if you want to quit, if you want to resign, we'll give you a great severance package. And my wife was like, you thinking about doing it? I was like, no chance. Things are going great. And then I got let go, but they still gave me a great severance package.
Good. That's kind.
They were so generous.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I got 6 months of severance. Well, then we'll just try freelance and see if I can do it. And it was super fun. Got to work on some of the best stuff ever with my best friend at the time. Am I allowed to talk about Ezra, my best friend?
Yeah.
So that summer,
is he still your best friend?
Still my
Okay,
best
so
friend.
you can talk about him then.
Still my
Because if
best
he's
friend.
not, we're in for some juicy content. Shout out Ezra.
So God worked that was probably the lowest moment. May in 2017 was like devastated. Like I've gotten let go from my job.
Yeah, it's
This is the worst thing ever. And then
Did you have kids at this point?
I had 2 kids.
Damn.
Yeah,
Being
2
let
little
go of a
girls.
job with 2 kids.
Yeah, 2 little girls. Just trying to figure it out. But 1 year later, June of 2018, I was directing the church's live recording. The main church. They would have probably never let me do that when I was on staff as the kids creative director.
But they contracted you
a
in to
full
do
year
this?
later, they contracted me, $100,000 budget, biggest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
Nice.
And I mean, within that year, I had gone with Ezra to Utah to shoot the Hillsong Young and Free music video.
That's when he was doing all the Hillsong stuff.
Yeah, we did the Hillsong,
Yeah, cool.
the Young and Free music video, booked some music videos in Nashville. Actually, a lot of them were shot on that same tape camera that we started using when we were
Gotta
14.
love mixed media.
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
the mixed Madison United at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, sick.
Um,
Did you guys do that?
Ezra directed it. Yeah.
What?
Nice.
Ezra directed it, and I tagged along and shot
Iconic.
DV tape cam
So
on
cool.
that.
What a cool opportunity.
And then got involved with the church plant, little tiny church plant, and kind of got sucked back into church world. I was out.
You were
and
like, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this
the
again.
money's so much better outside of church.
Yeah.
Working on all these cool things.
And then you got a tap on the shoulder, huh?
And then we just got sucked back in
Yeah.
to this church plant, and it was amazing time. It was like a beautiful season. Our family was really, it was where we needed to be for sure. And basically I was just volunteering all the time, doing all the media stuff. And then pastor was just kind of like, do you want to come on staff? And I was like, no. And then like 2-3 months later, COVID happened. And I was like, hey,
Remember that
job?
Tap,
And so
tap.
I came on staff. And so I experienced, from the big church, I mean, crazy. I mean, the media team at the time,
insane.
they had everything they wanted.
I mean, that's bigger than Hillsong's media team back in the day, even its heyday. I mean, Chris could probably talk to that, but I mean, that's big. Like,
I mean,
that's
it's big.
massive.
Yeah, I mean, it was big. They had, the main media team had 10 or 12 editors,
Yeah, wow.
4 or 5 producers. They, at the time, they owned all these red cameras. And it was like a big deal.
Big deal.
So we had pretty much what we needed. And then going to a church plant, we had nothing. It was like I had a camera, it was,
And it was your camera?
it was my camera.
Yeah.
So that was scrappy. So I've seen both of the things, and it's just fun. Like the whole journey of it is fun. Building a team from scratch is fun. Having everything and being able to do really fun big projects and $100,000 budgets, that's super fun. And so I just, well,
now you're freelance again.
freelance again.
So you're on staff at the church you still go to now,
Yep.
and then you came off there to go freelance again. What was that process like? Why'd you do that?
I was feeling ready to do something else. I was the church had grown like crazy. In 2 years, the church had grown to a couple thousand people, and it was doing really well. They hired a creative director, they hired a designer, and it was kind of feeling like they don't really need me here now. They've got a team. Maybe I should head back out on my own. And so I met with my oversight, and she was like, yeah, maybe pray about it. And I basically prayed about it and asked God if I should leave. And he basically said, well, I never told you to take a job there. And I was like, oh, okay. It just kind of happened. Like I said, like I kind of got nervous about COVID.
Yeah, sure.
And just took a job. And he was like, yeah, I never told you to work there.
Wow.
And so I just put in my 2 weeks notice and went freelance. And literally, I think my last day on staff, a buddy who I hadn't talked to in years texted me, and he's like, hey man, are you still doing video stuff? I was like, actually, that's all I'm doing as of today. And they've been, that was Brushfire. And that was my biggest, and they've been my
To this day.
retainer client for the last 2 years. And just, God has orchestrated every step from getting laid off at the church and thinking it was the worst thing ever to then realizing that he had to move me out. Like it was his mercy that pushed me out of that church. And then, it's just been a wild journey, just trying to figure out what God wants to do and just trying to help make things cool. I don't know.
Awesome.
Trying to.
So, Paul, I myself also worked for a church for a number of years. How did you go, whether it was at your first church you worked for, the second one, how did you go from like getting like big visions, which the pastors always have, and then even in like sometimes when you had the big team or no team, how did you navigate like that, marrying the creative process, maybe not having all the resources? Like, what was your like process in that?
Or having a lot of resources.
Yeah, like and a lot of resources.
What was that like?
Honestly, if I'm going to be like transparent and vulnerable,
Heck yeah.
Let's do it.
From both work scenarios, like probably just realizing how much I tried to just impose my will. Honestly, the biggest lesson was probably looking back on my time, realizing how much I tried to force it to do my thing, basically. And the first situation where I was a creative director, my bosses were incredible. They hired me at, I was 21, 22. They really took a chance on me and really gave me trust. I pretty much did whatever I wanted creatively. We were even joking about it the other night. Like, I would watch something that Jared Hogan would do at Elevation Church, and I'd be like, oh, sweet, how can we do a really cool, weird thing for the kids ministry?
Yeah, I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to make what Jared Hogan did.
I was just trying to do
that
weird.
Everyone. Like, this will be good.
And it didn't
And
work
I don't know
very
who
well.
this guy is. So you guys are all frothing. I'm like, who is this guy?
Jared Hogan's the GOAT.
He is. Shout out.
Sorry, shout out
Shout out-
Jared.
why
Maybe
not?
Shout him out.
Jared on the potty next.
Let's do it.
All right.
Jared's amazing. So in that season, I had tons of creative control. They really let me go wild,
Awesome.
which was cool. I learned a lot. I was basically like being paid to go to film school. Then fast forward, I'm a part of a church plant, and pastor has a really intense vision.
Very clear vision. He knows what he wants, which
Yeah.
Very strong.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah, I struggled with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a creative.
Yeah, true. As a creative. it's
As a
tough.
creative, I had all these things that I wanted to do, and turns out, who cares what I wanted to do? Like, I think that's my big lesson is like,
yeah.
and honestly, part of me leaving was like, if it's going to be constantly this battle of like me wanting to do my thing
Yeah.
versus what the church wants to do, I need to either lay it down and just be happy to do what the church's vision is,
Yeah.
or I need to leave and get out of here because I'm going to just constantly be battling it. And I don't know if that's a great answer for the podcast, but like, you have to either submit,
So
I
true.
feel like, and just lay it down,
It's true.
your will. Pastor always says, everyone's submitted until their will is tested. It's like, I'm submitted.
Oh,
Yeah.
then you get
Whatever you say,
tested.
Pastor. Yeah. Use
Yeah.
me until you get used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then, so it's really like, and he's intense. He's such an intense pastor, and I love him, but I found myself wanting to do things differently from a video perspective, and maybe that's a flaw in me, is that I just want to push and do things different. So maybe I'm not a great fit to be on staff at a church. I'm a pusher, and I really think I helped get us through the planting season, which is cool. But yeah, I think you gotta, I don't know if there's a ton of room in church. This is maybe a bad opinion, but like, there's room for creativity as far as your leaders give you. But if you're pushing beyond the boundaries they've given you, you need to check your heart, basically, because you're trying to build your own kingdom,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
which is not cool. I think as long as a leader, a great leader, Jason Laird, incredible, once told me that it's leadership's job to actually give you a box. He said, thinking outside the box is stupid. Leader's job is to give you a box and then let creatives run within that box.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I find that to be pretty true in church setting.
But creatives
Yes.
don't like structure. That's the problem. A lot of my friends who are creatives, they don't like being told what to do or how to do it. You know, and I feel like, but if you let them run wild,
You never know what you're going to get.
what are you gonna get?
I mean, okay, so this brings us to an interesting impasse where I have this pretty strong opinion on church media teams, And like, I kind of think, and this is, I don't know, I'm not going to tell everyone what they should do.
Yeah, but this is
But
good.
I
This is
kind of
good.
think that church
Tell 'em, bro.
media teams should be really careful in how they're staffing. And I would say like a producer, someone with like a high level, like executing vision, can go sit in a meeting talking about, you know, all the sermon series that year and really think through kind of creatively. And then I think maybe you have a person who's really good at just churning and burning. Like if that's,
is anyone actually really good at churning and
I don't
burning?
know.
This is what we've been talking
Yeah.
about.
I'm
It's like-
essentially saying I think churches should hire freelancers more.
yeah.
I think if you have a few people who on staff who can really kind of manage,
Yes.
and then it's like,
Yeah.
we need a promo that's totally off the wall for this new sermon series. This freelancer's perfect for it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, we need a series of testimonial videos all year long for this giving campaign. These guys
So true,
do
yeah.
heartfelt testimonials really well, and we're going to outsource it to them.
Yeah.
I really feel like that's probably a better model than staffing up and having this huge bloated team where you've got, you know, 2 or 3 video guy. And I know that's not every church.
Yeah,
But as
no.
churches grow,
Yeah.
there's this temptation to
Grow the team.
staff up
Yeah.
and we got to hire and
Yeah.
hire. And I don't think that's a great move. I feel like, you know, seeing churches I've been a part of bloat and then cut and then get busy, and ministries are where we need our graphics, we need baptism videos, and then they bloat again.
Oh, the
And then-
baptism video. You get asked for that every
gotta
time.
do new-
Do we have a baptism
We got to
video?
do a new baptism video every year.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
I think it's time for the church to find a new way of, and at the same time, being on staff as a video guy, I learned everything I know. And so I think there's like a raising up, and then potentially that guy goes out from the nest and has to fly on his own.
Fly, baby,
And
fly.
maybe there's still some, you know, my church still contracts me to do stuff here and there, and it's a better relationship because
Yeah.
they're like, you're good at this thing.
Yeah.
We need Paul to do this video.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I
like
mean,
that.
not everyone's
really
going to
good.
do everything at like on staff at a church. It's
Yeah.
really hard. I think as you grow, you need specialists.
Yeah.
And I think they can be outsourced.
That's really good. That's
Well,
good.
I
That's
completely agree.
Yeah, that's good. So we all have like creative leans. You know what I mean? Like that talent thing. So it's like you're trying to get one person to lean into the women's ministry, then the kids ministry, then the young adults, then the youth. What's trending then?
Yeah.
The older we get, the more disconnected you're going to get. So that's really good.
So what do you think, like, what is the vacuum like? So you two have worked in a church in a
You've
full
never
time-
worked at a church?
Never. I've in a pastoral
Yeah.
setting. In a pastoral setting.
Oh,
Yeah. So like you
Pastor
guys.
Sam.
So you
Got
guys. I just want to get this clear. You guys, me.
got it.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
were up here.
So yeah, I
And
mean,
that's why
like,
he's not a pastor
so I
anymore.
made it. So I want to know what it's like for people who haven't made it.
Good.
No, but I haven't worked at a church full time or at a church for video or creative or anything. So what's the vacuum like in a church? I know we were talking about it a bit off camera before, but what's that vacuum like? You know, because I feel like it can be like so intense and so much happening, and you're kind of expected to do a lot of things, and it's hard to do one thing really well.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yes.
That's what I imagine.
Yeah.
So what, like, I guess my question is, what would it have been like for you when you were working in the church to have access to a larger group of creatives who you could tap into? And obviously this is a plug for Kingdom Creatives that we are on the KC podcast.
Always be plugging.
But what would that have been like for you, say if you did work at a church, but you had access to this wide array of creatives, access to like bigger teams, more equipment, all of this thing, like would that have helped, or would that have almost like what would that have been like, do you think? Like this idea of KC being like an agency for churches, what would that have been like coming from somebody working in a church? And honestly, you don't have to, you can say it's crap.
No, I think
Okay.
I love it. I think when I was on staff at the church plant, the most recent church, there was this constant struggle of, you know, it was just me for a while. And it was like every week, me and Pastor went toe to toe on
Really?
video announcements.
Awesome.
I was like, bro, video announcements are the worst and we should never do them.
What did he say?
And he's like, no, we have to have them. I was like,
Are we
dude,
naming him?
We can say Pastor Landon. So
We love
Pastor
him.
Landon,
He might dip in on this.
He might. Yeah,
I hope he does.
So Pastor Landon, I love you. I've
When you
grown.
mentioned
I've grown so much under his leadership.
Do you see you guys butted heads a lot?
We butted heads on a couple things.
Yeah,
mostly video announcements.
Yeah, really.
I was like, I don't want to do them, and he's like, we need them. I was like, we don't.
And he's like, I pay you.
yeah. Essentially.
Yeah.
Well, he was
Yeah.
like, He wasn't sure. Yeah. Anyway, he didn't want to do live announcements. Very adamant. We're not going to have someone stand up on stage and ho hum and waste a bunch of time.
Yeah.
Let's do video announcements. We can control how fast they are. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So okay. So I was saying that the biggest, I feel like, struggle was the weekly stuff that happens every single week, and the big rises and falls that I'm sure, Josh, you know from working at church. You have seasons where it's like, women's conference, men's pancake breakfast.
You know this.
You're like, I'm gonna die. There's too much. Help! Yeah, and then like next month you're like, oh.
Dude, okay. When I was working at the big church back in the day, we did this kids conference. We called it Wacky Week. Some people are going to know exactly what church I'm talking
Your phone's
about.
about to drop.
Oh, thank you, sir.
There you go.
But we would have 3,000 elementary school kids in the sanctuary,
Yo.
and it was
3,000.
nuts for the whole week.
That
And we
would be
just
wacky.
Go. We made, dude. But my team, there's 8 of us. There was one year where we did, I think it was like 105 video deliverables for this event. So the whole week, weeks, probably a month leading up to that event,
Damn.
we worked 75, 80, 90 hour weeks for a month straight leading up to this event.
Oh,
I remember
wow.
I remember driving home, falling asleep in my car, waking up, and like the light would be green, and I would wake up and I'd be like, dang, I don't remember most of this drive.
Oh no.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah, I've been there.
Sometimes you don't go home, but
Yeah, a lot of times it didn't go home. You just go home and
Damn.
shower and go right back to the
Yeah.
office.
Damn.
Like, so there's these seasons of sprinting, and then seasons where there's not as much, but there's always this weekly stuff. So it's like video announcements, sermon slides, video backgrounds, and then recaps from the sermon.
Yeah.
And there's all these things you have to do every week. And then if you throw an event or a conference
throws
or a
ya.
camp, it's like, how do we handle all of this?
Yeah.
So I always tried to hire out freelancers, but in the early stages, there was this trust thing where the leadership team and the pastoral team was like, who are these guys that are doing these
sure.
videos? And so there's this kind of like disconnect.
Yeah. Because they partnered with you as the staff member. They haven't partnered with the freelancer. So it is a bit rigid. It can be.
It can be weird to tell
especially
pastor.
like, are they even faith believers?
Yeah, that's
like
right.
do they even really
They haven't been
understand what we're
vetted.
doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they have the heart of the house? That
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing. And I
yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
And so I think what's interesting about Kingdom Creatives is that there's a relationship. I think there will be a relationship that builds and trust that builds to where it's like proven that these guys understand church. And I think there's going to be growing together to where it's like, I think, like if we were running back a couple years ago and we could just say, hey, this whole campaign, can we have the agents, can we have Kingdom Creatives run with this campaign?
Yeah.
Because I've got Men's Night and I've got
Fully.
a whole new rebrand in the for signage or something like that. And it's like, can we just have someone else do the signage and I can work on? So I think like in my head, it's like that would have been the biggest thing, was to have people who you could just offload, whether it's the big campaign, like we did a giving video every year that ate up a ton of my time. And it's like, I honestly, and I don't even know what, I don't know if we cut this or not, but it's like, I don't know if this is the right service.
We're about to find out.
It's like,
let's find
I
out.
was going to just say that. I think that's fun. But it's like, sometimes you need someone else to come in and do the big project. And then sometimes you need someone to like maintain the day in, day out stuff for a couple weeks while your guy on staff does the big project.
Yeah.
I think that is like,
Yeah. And it's
Could be
individual
it.
needs.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, honestly, the biggest like pitch for this idea is that you could go spend 60, 70, 80 grand a year on a staff member, but even if you've got them full time, they can only do so much.
True.
Like that person can only do 2 or 3 things really well. but they've actually got 15 things to do.
Yeah.
So if a church can only afford 1 or 2 people, they've got 150 grand for the year to spend on salaries. Well, those 2 people can only do so much. But I feel like, the great service we can provide as Kingdom Creators is you spend the same amount of money, but you get 10 people, you get 15 people, and we're specialists in any area that you need. And so I feel like what it's doing is you're spending the same amount of money, but you're getting access to so much more. And I honestly feel sorry for people who work in some kind of department at a church full time, and they're just getting burnt. And there's so much demand, so much demand on them. And they want to serve the house. They want to be invested. They want to do all these things. They have all these high hopes and high dreams. But the reality is there's just a lot to do, and it's too much for one person, And I feel like when this idea dropped in my spirit, I thought, this is it. This is the answer, And I, as I said all the time, said this a number of times, if we were in this to make money, we wouldn't be going to churches, we want to do Kingdom Creators because I believe it's going to be a blessing to the body of Christ. And I feel like we can make a true difference and we can really help. And like I was saying before to you guys, I'm mostly excited about the Discord channels, the conferences once a year where we get to empower and, I see our Kingdom Creative nights being prophetic nights, letting the Lord speak into people's creativities, not necessarily how to become the best graphic designer, but more how does the Lord want you to use your creativity? Because it's different for everybody.
Yes,
and so I feel like outside of the service we provide, creating a community for creatives that doesn't exist right now, unless you are just really outgoing like me and you make friends. It's really hard to get into that world where people are with other creatives. And so I feel like I'm excited about that.
Can I say something about that?
Of course.
Man, I think the community mentorship aspect of it is really, really exciting because when I look back at, I've been doing this, I started full-time in 2011, so 13, 14 years.
It's a long time.
I can't really think of any video that I'm that's the thing I'm proudest of. Honestly, when you were just talking about coming alongside people and helping people, I think the things I'm most proud of is Eric, who was just a kidman volunteer who wanted to learn cameras.
Oh, I love that, man.
And now he's a really legit director. He's an incredible filmmaker. Think about Luke and Lance, the twins, who were just punk kids who just wanted to learn camera. And then now they're all very successful filmmakers.
Wow, man.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's all my accomplishment, but
you were able to pour into them though.
Yeah, working alongside them, saying, hey, let's try it this way. Let's try that.
Yeah.
Giving them notes on videos. Just doing it with them throughout the years.
That's what excites me.
Raising them up. And now they were able to run and accomplish much more than I was ever able to.
Man, love that.
So that's exciting. Having a mentorship community aspect to it is so exciting.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, I'm so pumped about that. What are you thinking about over here, B1?
I'm just agreeing
Just
with
soaking
everything.
soaking it all in.
It's also true because I even remember being really young and there was people that would go to our church and filmmakers that they probably know my name or anything, and I was couldn't tell them I look up to you or I want to learn from you. And the little times when I got a little bit more confident and talked to them or went on things and asked for a little bit of advice, that was so valuable. And I still remember it to this day, but there was never that access point. You know what I mean? It was it was on me to talk to them, but even then it was oh, I'm done. Because that was it. So it's so true.
The community element, I think I'm most excited about. I'm excited to do epic videos for the churches and do all this stuff and make great graphics and all the creative. I'm excited about that, but I'm most excited about giving. And I actually was saying, I said this to Josh the other day on the potty. I said, I can envision a 40 or 50-year-old dad who's been doing a truck driving, and he goes, I've always wanted to make films, but he's never had a platform or an opportunity to do it. And then he sees us and he goes, I could be a part of that through the church. And he jumps on, picks up a camera, picks up a computer, starts editing, and he can actually go into what he feels God's called him to do because there's a platform for him to do it and other people to come alongside and support him. Because oftentimes in a church of 100, 500, even bigger churches, you don't get around to meet everybody. So how do you get involved? Well, you might, run a camera on a Sunday, but oftentimes that's not always what people want. Sometimes they want to get into doing something more creative. And so I can see, obviously young people raising them up. That's great. Can't wait for that. But I can really see the 30, 40, 50-year-old going, I've always wanted to do this and I can see myself doing this here, and that's what excites me. So anyway, man, look, I think you'll definitely be on the pod again. Do you have any final remarks? how are you feeling about this? Like, I want you to be involved in this. And so I have an agenda here. I want you to be involved in Kingdom of Creatives. And I think that you have such an amazing heart to, see creativity in the church flourish. So do you have any final thoughts? Like, what do you think about this when I told you about this idea? Like, what sparked in you? And then we'll wrap it up because you got to get home to your wife and we've had a big day shooting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I almost, when you first brought it up to me, I think I thought like, almost like, the cavalry's coming. You heard that? Like, it's like reinforcements are on their way kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's kind of what I
cool.
thought. It's
I like that.
Like there's like, I think this could be a thing that comes along and really helps those churches who are, maybe they just have a volunteer and they're trying to figure out if they're going to hire someone else, or it's a team of 2 or 3 and they're just overwhelmed because their church is growing and it's awesome, but they can't handle it all. So it's like I could see this coming in as reinforcements and helping churches get to the level they want to be at, help them raise up people within their church that can learn media and become their people. But I think it's like I said we, like I'm.
Oh, is that accepting the deal?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be involved.
Hey!
You know what I love about that? Because we were talking about, I was telling you as well, just before we finish up.
Yeah.
Just like,
hey, we can keep going
with
if you
Sunday
want.
Screens, when that started, we physically just met today.
You too.
Yeah, physically. We
Yeah.
met before many times over the interwebs. But I was that church employee doing so much, struggling, and we got a big LED screen to fill, and then Sunday Screens came along, and it just allowed us to create so much more.
Wow.
And the relief
Gave
I
you the
had
freedom.
when we've got an album recording coming up. There's 12 songs. We're also
What the
doing it on
heck
the
are we
back
gonna
of a
do?
women's conference. So I'm busy doing all that. And then that very next day we're
In
doing
comes Paul on the horse.
on a horse. And I'm like, the LED content, we're good.
Yeah.
Like it's safe. And that whole thing can just leave your mind because there was just this service provided like that. It was really good, tasteful
But
stuff.
for people who understood the church.
So true. And I gassed him up.
That's
so I told
sick.
him
Thanks,
my
man.
favorite one. It was the one he did. So
Oh, hey, the clouds.
no, it was
Did you
the
do the
Jesus
clouds?
words.
Clouds was Ezra.
Oh, I love the clouds.
The clouds are dope. Shout
clouds
out,
are sick.
shout out to Ezra.
Shout out to Ezra.
Shout out Sunday Screens.
Maybe we
Shout
need
out.
to do a Sunday Screen special on the potty.
Maybe we'll get a hat too.
It'd be fun. Next time you come to Texas, let's get
Let's get
Ez
on. Yeah, he'll
Yeah.
come on. Would he come on?
Oh yeah.
This is your formal invite,
on.
Ezra.
See you soon.
I'm excited, man, and I would just like to finish in prayer if we can,
Yeah, come
and just invite the Holy Spirit right now. So, Lord, we just say, "Come, Holy Spirit," and Lord, if any of us have ever tried to take your will out of your hands and try to do it ourselves, Lord, we're sorry. And we just put it completely back into your hands. Jesus, we commit this idea, Kingdom Creatives, to you. Thank you for allowing us to be stewards and trusting us with this thing. We don't know what it totally entails. We don't know totally what to expect, but we know that you're on it. We know that you're in it. And we thank you that you would allow us to steward it. Thank you for my brothers, Paul and Josh. I thank you that you're infusing more creativity, more blueprints from heaven in our creative fields. Lord, give us the strategy, give us the creative, bring the right people along to really advance your kingdom on the earth in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for joining, bro.
Yep.
First of many, Knuckles. See you in the next one.
Kingdom Creative.